Tired of climbing like a Gumby at the crag with your approach shoes? Well, let's learn how to use our feet and toes better with some control with Be a Better Climber today.
Oh my God, he's here. He's here. Oh my God. Oh my God. We're gonna do our first video? We're doing our first video?
Yes.
Oh, we're gonna do our first video?
Let me park.
No, now.
Okay.
Oh! Really? Get it! Come here! Okay. Are we doing this? Oh, damn it! I forgot it! Okay. Let's go.
All right, Naise and Jingles will be a better climber today. We're going to start with the beginning of what we call our Be a Better Climber for Life class. Normally when we do this in person, it's a 6-week, ideally it's a 6-week class, or it can be drummed down to maybe 2.5 hours, I think is the fastest we've done.
2.5 hours is the fastest we did. And I think we did like, what, 3/4 of it?
Yeah.
Or somewhere in that ballpark, but it was very condensed, very rushed.
So today we're going to start the beginning of the class. We're going to talk about the parts of the foot so we have some definitions to build on so we're all on the same page. And there are 3 main parts of the feet that you use when you are climbing. You have the big toe, you have your inside edge, you have all your smaller toes or your outside edge, and you have your heel. The heel we're not going to spend a lot of time on today. Actually, we're not going to talk about it all today. That's another episode. But today we're going to be focusing on mainly the big toe or the hammer toe. Now, the definition of the big toe or the inside edge of what you're using is actually, give me your foot. What is actually going to be from the first knuckle back towards the sole of the ball of your foot to the tip of your toe. Stop moving. The tip of your toe. This is the definition of your toe. What I'm not talking about is the ballerina. Go ahead and stand up and show them your pretty ballerina thing. We try not to climb like a ballerina on the tip of our toe. It does not work effectively as a general rule. So today we're going to learn how to use the big toe of your foot, why it's important, and we're going to give you some object lessons to illustrate and demonstrate why your big toes are in general are really important in climbing. And we're also going to give you some exercises that you can do to focus on being more precise and specific with your footwork. All right?
Yeah.
Okay, so why are toes important? The toes are important because, for one thing, which if you're small like me is really important, is that it can help you be taller. Okay? Yeah. Very easy concept, but another thing is balance and control. If you are just trying to stand on the ball of your foot, your balance it kind of goes away. And I'm actually trying to balance, and I'm bad, but
he's not good.
As opposed to that, if I'm standing on my toes, then my balance is a lot easier to maintain. My control for my movement is a lot easier to maintain. If I try to lift my toes off the ground, then I tend to wobble a lot more.
So why is that?
Well,
it's pure and simple. The big toe is the strongest toe that you have on your feet. It is also the focal point of balance for your entire body. A lot of people who have lost a big toe for some reason or another have a hard time balancing, walking on just flat ground. So if your big toe is that important in a horizontal position, how important is it going to be when we start getting into the vertical?
Yeah. And as far as one of the object lessons today, we're going to do this one. Can you stand and sort of face me so they kind of get an idea of what both of
you mean like
this? Side to side kind of look like? Yep.
Boom.
So if we stand with our feet relatively together, hands down by our side, and you lift just your toes off the ground. If you pretend now that everything from your ankles up is a piece of steel and it cannot move, how do you get your body to move in any sort of real direction.
Fun fact, you don't.
You can't really do it. But if you put your toes on the ground and you try to grab the ground and pull, automatically your body is going to want to start to pull itself forward. If you really want to, you can grab the ground and actually move yourself. It's really awkward and uncomfortable, but you can get the idea that your toes are where your power and your control come from. So
I'm going to get to you.
you're just going to continue coming over here. You're just, I've got time to run away, and we're going to do that now while we go talk.
No, you come back here.
You and your... Seriously? Whenever he's ready.
I cheated and I made it.
So, we've demonstrated our control now. So, talking about power. Power starts with your toes. And the best way that I really know how to describe it, or at least demonstrate why that works, is throwing a baseball.
Yeah.
What I like to say is a lot of times if you were to ask somebody, so like, hey, Jingles, this is your first time you've ever met me before. Hi. You're
pleasure.
Okay, bad person.
What?
If I were to ask you where power normally comes from, if I was going to throw a baseball, if you were new to this class, what's one of the first things we almost always hear?
Big arm chest.
From your arms and your chest. And what that tends to look like is this. You kind of throw like that. Okay? That is not, the ball's not going to go very far, and you're going to get being told that you throw like a girl, which is fine. Yeah, and where's the second most common thing we hear from?
Hips and core.
Hips and core. So if I were to throw a ball with my hips and core, it should look like that. Okay? That's going to go further, but you're still not going to be able to pitch for the Braves or anything like that. So the third most common thing people say is they say your legs, which is not...
It's not wrong.
Not wrong, but it's also not right. If I were to just throw with my legs and actively try to avoid getting my toes involved, then it looks like that. So you get a little bit more twist, a little bit more power, and it rolls forward, and you can get a lot more power and a lot more energy to roll through the body to go up, but it's not completely correct. What it actually happens from and stems from is your big toe. Your big toe starts to generate. And if you were to watch, it starts, you dig in, you see the wave roll up to the body, and then the ball gets thrown. If I were to do it, I'm going to need a little bit more room for my fatness.
I'll leave.
So if you were to look again, if I was going to throw, pretending I'm a pitcher, you start down low, it moves up the body, and then you step and roll. All of that power comes from your toe. Okay, the wave of energy should move from the big toe on the ground all the way up through the body and then out through the hand.
All right. So the way that I ended up learning how to use feet was actually through martial arts. In martial arts, a lot of them, not all of them, believe that power starts at the ground. Nobody has power. Nobody owns power. Power is part of the earth. You grab it, you harness it, you pull it up, you use it, and then you don't have it anymore. But it starts at your feet. So let's pretend for a second like we've never gotten a fight. Okay?
You want us to pretend we've never gotten in a fight?
Never gotten into a fight. Okay?
Hi.
Okay, so if I was going to be punching you and I just upper bodied,
ow,
that wasn't that great, was it? Why? We're talking about punching, not kicking.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Calming down.
He calmed down. He's learned. Okay. So that is, again, the upper body doesn't do a whole lot. Now let's engage the hips and let's hip. It does a little bit.
I need to move. He's going to hurt me.
Not more. Now, if I dig in with my toes and I borrow power from the earth, I'm going to twist and I'm going to pull up into it. And it's going to look like that. Night, night. And that's how we properly punch somebody. Don't worry, he'll wake up eventually. Okay? He will.
Ow. Ow.
You'll be fine.
Okay. So you may have noticed that so far, well, I hope we've at least demonstrated that the power should come from your feet. Not necessarily in all situations, but for the way that we're going to be teaching, it should start from your feet. You should also notice that we haven't touched a hole on the wall, gone over anything yet.
Not even a
We
little bit.
did tell you on one of our intro episodes that we were going to be annoyingly specific, and
Ooh.
we do mean that.
That was me. I am
Yes.
the annoying one.
Idiot.
I am.
So one of the things with both of the demonstrations with throwing the baseball or punching someone that you should have noticed is that the wave energy moves through the body as sort of a single unit. The body is connected. It will all be used together. But for a lot of the stuff that we're going to be teaching you, we will be breaking it down so that you are isolating certain parts of the body specifically to learn how to use the body better. If all you did was learn how to use everything in one motion, when you do need to isolate it, for example, if I needed to pull my body over using my foot, if I don't know how to do that, then I can overdo it or not use it well enough, or I'm just not using it as in the most comfortable way possible. So again, we're going to be annoying and we're going to move through how to use your body in parts so that you can learn to use it as one cohesive unit as it is intended to be used.
Absolutely.
So to pushing and pulling, nobody has a problem learning how to push with their body. The best way that I know how to really kind of demonstrate this is this. If I wanted to move my body from point A to point B, pushing does tend to be the easiest thing. The back leg is the thing that you are focusing on, and it does the movement, and that's the only thing that that should move is the back leg.
And
This is pushing.
Did nothing.
This is the easiest thing. Okay, but that's pushing. Okay, the thing that we have a harder time is learning how to transfer the weight from here to the front when you are pulling. Okay, I got a little ahead of myself. Instead of doing the pulling, we're going to do a weight shift. If I wanted to move my body from this position to that position, you're going to use both legs and feet, and all you're going to do is just transfer the weight from one foot to the other. You're using both feet to do the motion. It looks a lot like a dance. I have expected you to be behind me dancing.
I wasn't. I was pointing at your bits.
Okay,
shoulders.
Sorry. Shoulders are not involved. They stay relatively still. If things are going well, my hips should actually be in an even plane, and they move back and forth like a typewriter. Okay, this is what happens when both of your legs and both hips are involved at the same time. Okay, I know it looks stupid. I don't really care. So that's the second way to push and pull and move your body. The third way is to actually pull. This is the one that most people have the hardest time learning how to do, but it's probably one of the more important ways to do it. I will use my straight leg and that toe to grab the ground to pull my body to move over. This leg is going to end up trying to be an anchor. And the way that should work is I should grab the ground, I should engage the calf muscles, I should engage the thigh, I should engage my thighs and quads, and I should engage my glutes, and I pull my body over with the forward leg, okay? When most people try this on their first time, all they really do is a weight shift back and forth, and then they just put more weight on their forward leg. That's not what we're asking for, okay?
Is there a way that they can tell whether they're actually digging in their big toe when they're doing this exercise?
Huh?
Because they should, I don't know how else to describe it other than you should feel, you grab the ground with your toes, and then you pull. This should fight to stay still. Everything in here should be the thing that's being used to the point where I start to drag, thank you, and fall over.
I'll always catch you. So, little known fact, in the NFL, linebackers didn't used to wear gloves. They don't really have a reason to wear gloves, but they started to for a very specific reason. And that's because when they weight their toes, it changes color on the toenail. So now the other line goes, oh, he's coming to me, so I can push him over to the side. But if your fingernails don't change color, you're not putting weight in it. So you're waiting for me to come to you.
Excuse me.
So while you are doing this exercise, look at your big toe. You can tell whether you are actually engaging it or whether you're passively using the ball of your foot like most people try to do.
So let's do a quick little thing where you guys try to guess and see which one is being done. Okay? Am I pushing, pulling, or shifting my weight from point A to point B? What'd you
Am
think
I,
I
am I
did?
supposed to call? That was shift.
That was a shifting.
That was a shift
I
all
used
day.
both legs to control the motion. Okay, and then this one is
That's a push.
it's a
All
push.
day. All day
Everything
push.
from the back leg was used to generate the momentum, and then he's not gonna get this one.
Your toenail changed color. You're pulling, and that one's dead, which means you are properly pulling your weight. Yeah, fall over. Properly pulled his weight and shifted over.
Those three ways are the best way that I know how to get to introduce a pull to the body, and that's what we're going to really work on. Now, how does this actually come into play? I need a box.
You need a box. I already showed you I can box.
Oh, give me a box! Oh, God. Please don't put it on my toes.
Nicer than that.
That would hurt.
Sometimes.
Okay, so those things demonstrated when you are climbing. If I was going to push and pop my way up, all the weight comes from your lower foot, or sorry, all the energy comes from your lower foot, and it pops your body up. Okay? It's just a pop. Okay? Everything comes from here. Yes, I stand up, but the energy motion starts with the bottom leg. Okay? If I wanted to shift my body weight over my higher foot, how many times do you use a pop when you are climbing? To pop to generate your movement up.
Not overly common, but if I'm really projecting something, I'm taking every trick out the bag I got.
I use it all the time because I'm so short. I have to get enough energy sometimes to roll over the higher footholds that I have a hard time just pulling over or transferring my weight over. It doesn't always work. People who are taller don't have to use this one when the feet are what I would call more accessible. The shorter you are, then the more a pop or a version of a pop is going to be helpful with higher feet and to get into the position you need. The other one is the shifting over. So the shifting isn't necessarily the same thing where your body, both legs do the motion and you sort of, your weight transfers over. What it will look more like is I transfer the weight using whatever I can, how my body goes up and over. And then for the most part, you end up doing a pistol squat or you just sort of straighten out this leg. I don't know how else to describe it.
You can use assistance with handholds when you're actually climbing. It's a lot harder on a box with no holds.
Sorry, I keep getting messages if you haven't looked. So
What?
if my feet are further apart, this shift is harder to try to do because I have a harder time getting my weight over, and then I end up having to do a pistol squat. But it works, okay? So to practice this, your feet are roughly comfortable. So you look like a Captain Morgan bottle. Ta-da!
A little over shoulder line.
So all you do is you move your weight over and then just stand up. Okay? That's it. Okay? The last way, and the way that most people need to learn how to use their body, is to actually pull with the higher foot. So this one's a harder one to practice, but much easier to tell when you're doing it wrong. I'm going to grab the hold with my higher foot, and I'm going to pull my body over. If I do this right, the left leg should pretend to basically be dead or just still, and I'm going to pull my body over and then stand up.
If you want to make it harder for yourself,
No! Don't!
give me your foot. Give me your foot.
Dang it,
Put it
man.
over here.
This is going to be harder.
Have your friend hold your foot. So then I know he's not popping off of this thing because I'm feeling the pull. Now, you're not being rude to him and pulling him over. You're just making sure that they're not cheating.
So, again, this one, everything from here over, on your lower half of the body, the lower part of the foot, should be still and not engage in the motion to move up. So, everything starts here. Grab, pull, or drag, and then stand up. Okay? That is popping, shifting, and pulling up into a pistol squat. The pulling into a pistol squat is what I call shift and stand, which is an exercise we'll go over later. Am I missing anything?
I don't feel like you're missing anything, but I want to say you're missing something.
There's an exercise that you can do with this. Once you've learned how to feel the difference between popping, shifting, and pulling, or shift and stand, you can turn this into a balance exercise.
Oh, the balance and
yes.
stand.
So,
I'm actually really good at that.
instead of, so stage one of this practice is actually doing it from the ground, where you pop and you sort of try to balance onto your toes. You don't have to balance like a ballerina, which I don't do well. I do
I
not
would
look like a
prefer
good
it.
ballerina. But you pop into a balanced position. Okay. You shift over into a balanced position where you balance on the toes. And honestly, the closer you are and the more you can extend out, the more you kind of feel where the balance is when you are doing a just shifting of the weight or weight transfer. And then when you do the pull, you pull over, making sure you're digging in on those toes. Then you stand into a balance. You can do the same thing. I'm going to try the other leg.
Make it tall.
I'm going to try the other leg and be tall.
Oh.
This time, just so you can see that on all of them, you can pop and balance. That one was not my best. I'm going to try it again.
That was, yeah,
You
you can do better.
Pop and balance. You shift your weight over, stand up and balance. And then you pull. Oh, I'm going to pull that over. Can you keep that still so it doesn't tip over on me with my fatness?
Fine.
So you can pull and stand into balance. Okay. The point is to stand up and to learn how to balance on your toes. Again, this is easier from the ground. Once you've learned how to do it from the ground, you transfer to a step or a block, a bench,
Workout bench.
whatever it is you have. You can start off small. It doesn't have to be high. I probably should have started off smaller. This is harder to do for me.
You should just do it.
And then Jingles is going to show me up in front of everybody.
Not today. Not today.
Oh.
Another day. Another day.
That's what. That's how we're trying to learn how to do the push and the pulls and the shifting and the standing and moving through that. When you're balancing, you learn how to be specific with what you are doing, which is actually the next topic we're talking about.
It is
being specific with your feet.
super specific.
All right.
All right. So one of the aspects about using your feet properly is paying attention and being specific with your feet. When you're not being specific with your feet, you can do some really dumb things, like scraping the wall like a bull. And one, it looks super dumb.
Yes.
Two, you're going to wear your shoes out way faster because you're just scraping all the rubber off onto the wall.
And it may look super dumb, and that's fine because it does.
It
but
does.
we all do it when we started out.
Yes, we do.
I mean, I know you did it when you started out because I was there day one when you were here.
I still do it warming up sometimes,
Yeah.
and I have to think about paying attention to my feet so that I don't look dumb.
And 30 years ago, roughly, when I started climbing, I did the same thing. I know for a fact that I did it, and I fixed it because it was annoying.
It's
And I got
super
tired
annoying.
of paying for more shoes.
Dude, especially with how expensive shoes are. I'm tired of spending that money.
Yep.
So, you look dumb. You wear out your shoes super fast.
Yep.
You constantly have to readjust what you're doing with your feet.
Yeah.
Because
You
you're
miss.
not,
You miss.
and you miss,
You
and
miss.
So now you're wasting time. And now you're wasting energy, which puts more weight on your upper body and puts more weight on your hands, which wastes time and
And
waste energy. And we're going to get into energy systems later, but right now we're thinking of feet, and that's about it.
So you're seeing the vicious cycle that would create.
Exactly.
You miss your foot, now you're wasting time. Now your hands are weighted, and now you're wasting energy, and now you have to refix it. So it's a constant cycle that when you're on the wall, especially when you're projecting,
It eats you.
you're done.
It just eats you.
You're done.
So what are some good things when you pay attention to your feet? I think the most important one is you save your shoes. So you're saving money. I like saving money, personally.
Yep.
You also get more control because when you are specific with your foot placement, you can trust your foot placement and use it and engage it. It also gives you an easier ability to readjust.
Yeah, when you're on a hold, if you place it correctly the first time and you get your foot in the right spot, now you can pivot around. We move from an in step to an out back step or whatever it is, back and forth.
And that allows you to engage your body more correctly through your feet.
Yeah, by keeping pressure into those feet so you're not slipping and flopping around.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And it looks totally boss. Everybody will think you are at least 10% cooler than you actually are because you're doing the moves properly. And like
Yes.
everything else that we have done so far, we have an object lesson to help you guys in why it's important
I like this one.
to engage through your toes and pay attention through your feet or to your feet.
Pay attention to your feet. Yeah.
Pay attention to your feet.
To your
Those
feet.
are the words. So get a friend or somebody that you really want to poke, because we're going to do the exercise. So the idea is I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to poke him in the nose. And we're going to see how comfortable he is in this situation, outside of the fact that he's just getting his nose poked.
But the important part of this is the first time you do it, you need to pay attention.
And so I'm watching, I'm paying attention, and I'm engaging, and I poked his nose. And did you even,
My eyes crossed.
like, barely felt it?
It felt fine. I didn't think that you were going to hit me at all.
All right, so now we're going to try it one more time, and this is the fun one. This is my favorite, because we're going to see how comfortable he is in this interaction.
I really don't. I don't like.
Was I getting close to your eye?
I ran away before you got
I
close
would
to
have ran away too, right? So if you can't see your foot touch a hold, and you can't tell that it's in the right spot, you're not going to trust it, and you're going to naturally rely on your upper body to engage and pull through, which goes back to wasting time, using too much energy, and it gets really, really repetitive. So now we're actually going to try some climbing stuff. So we're going to go to the climbing wall. We're doing.
So now we're going to start with actually getting on the wall and demonstrating some of the things we've been talking about.
Climbing.
First thing is
The Raging Bull.
the Raging Bull.
The Raging Bull.
Why is the Raging Bull bad? Oh, that's right. We went over that. And to demonstrate exactly what we're talking about, so everyone does know what we're talking about, Raging Bull, grab me some good holds because I don't want to hold on to bad stuff. This is what we always see when we are on the wall. So we're always doing
to his face. He's not looking at his foot, which makes it really hard to put it where he wants to put it. That's what she said. But when he takes a moment and looks at it, he stops being a Raging Bull.
For whatever reason, when we start climbing, everybody does this. We think we go up, we reach up, and our feet stop. We stop paying attention to what happens down below us.
I have a theory as to why we do that.
Because we're stupid?
Yes, but it's just conditioning. Have you ever done a pull-up?
No.
Right? I've done one. When you do a pull-up, you get higher. Right? You ever done a squat? You go to the same height you always have. I think that's why.
It's a weird explanation.
It's a weird explanation, but you can't tell me I'm wrong because you have no proof.
I can't think.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah, so for whatever reason, when we get on the wall, we always think we need to pull with our arms. And by doing that, we forget about everything that happens underneath us anyway. So what happens is you grab, you look at where you want your foot to go, you start it, and you're like, that's where I'm going. And then you go whoop, and you just miss, whiff, slam, whatever it is.
And now you're a bull getting ready to start raging.
Which is only cool if you're the fucking bull.
If you're an actual bull, it's super cool, but we're not making the video for you. Okay?
So instead of doing the Raging Bull, we want to learn to place our feet with intention.
Exactly.
So instead of the raging crazy bull crap, like the bull crap.
I didn't catch it, but that was
instead,
good.
You're just going to watch. You're going to watch the foot go where you want it.
And
if I want to, go ahead.
You are going to be deliberate with your placement. You want to know exactly where it's going and why it is going.
So, this is going to lead us into a few things that we're going to talk about.
Yes.
The first thing I'd like to talk about is actually how to, for this entire segment and for any of the exercises that we give you, I specifically want you to try to keep your arms straight, okay? I don't want you pulling your body one way or another with your arms, right?
Yes, and so what we mean by that is we don't want you just and flopping down. Keep your shoulders engaged.
So we're going to talk about, relax for a second. We're going to talk about shoulders a lot in the future, but for now, just so you understand what we're saying, for shoulders to be disengaged, the body drops down. The shoulders are here. The whole body drops down. The head drops and well. But when you start to do a pull-up, your shoulder blades engage and pull everything up. So you can breathe, look around, all that good stuff. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example of how to engage your shoulders.
Because I have bad shoulders, so I focus on them really hard.
So for the point of the exercises we're going to be doing for the rest of the episode, I do not want you pulling your body with your arms. Your arms don't need to be bent. They need to stay straight and engaged while you're doing the exercise. So that will be more apparent later when we're actually going over the exercises.
Think of keeping your shoulder below your ear and your elbow straight.
Yes. So one of the things we talk about placing your feet, and he's used the word deliberate. Yeah. There's a game that I have heard almost every single climbing coach mention, and it's the quiet feet game.
It's good, but it can be better.
I personally hate it. I hate the word quiet game because it's not accurate. What I think is a better way to describe what the game actually should be is being deliberate. And
so one of the ways that I like to explain that is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to very quietly touch Naise's shoulder, okay? Did you guys hear me touch his head? No, I did it right? I was quiet with what I did, so I win the game?
No? Because the intention of what you wanted was not the same.
Exactly.
The same thing happens when you're doing the quiet game versus what we call deliberate feet, okay? Being deliberate is being specific and intentional with what you're doing with your feet. That is what you want.
So,
a byproduct is to actually be quiet. So if he was being deliberate and intentional with what he wanted to do, he would have touched my shoulder the first time as opposed to my head. Now that was an over-exaggerated example, but the point is the same. And what quiet feet actually looks like when you're cheating is more like this.
Oh, it's so good.
The first time I saw this was I was trying to get a kid to do the quiet feet game, and then they did this exact same thing, and I was like, you followed my rule. You followed the rules, and you didn't do what I wanted you to do. So what they ended up doing was something like this. If every time they moved their foot, they were like this.
Which is super quiet, and they did it very effectively. How many times have you ever climbed like this when you're actually climbing, not warming up and not practicing? You don't. You really don't.
It takes a minute and a half to make 2 moves, when in actuality, when you're climbing and you know what you're doing with intention, it should take you less than 2 seconds to do a move. That's probably even on the long side. If we go from here to there, it shouldn't take you 2 seconds. We'll work half a second.
Yeah.
So being quiet is a byproduct of being deliberate with your feet. Being deliberate is more specific for what you should be doing. If I specifically wanted to touch, let me see, if I wanted to touch this one spot right here on his tricep right here, if I wanted to do that and I wanted to do it quickly, I need to watch. If I'm not looking at it and I want to do it quickly, I got lucky and got the right spot.
Got it. I moved into it. That's the story. I'm sticking to it.
More than likely what happens when you're trying to move quickly and you're not paying attention is one of these things. You're not actually hitting what you're aiming for. So I'm not talking smack to all the coaches that use the quiet feet game. I'm just saying I think a change in verbiage is more appropriate. You want to be deliberate and specific with what you're doing with your feet, and a byproduct of that is being quiet. So
absolutely.
In actuality, in practice, the way that should work is more of
and the best thing about this is
slip.
This can be a workout. You notice he's on decent holds right now, just working his feet around. You could get onto this 10 mil edge and hang on that and start getting a finger workout while he works on getting deliberate and quiet feet.
So quiet feet versus deliberate feet. That's an important thing to pay attention to, especially when you're doing this exercise. Again, the goal is to be deliberate. A byproduct is to be quiet. I can't stress it enough because I think it's a very important distinction.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
So when it comes to the next time we're talking about pushing and pulling with your feet. The way to think about that is using your phalanges.
And thinking that your toes are also phalanges.
Or fingers. Or that's how it should be. I like phalanges. I just think it's a cool word.
Fun to say.
So when you are, do it on the shoulder.
Which one are we doing?
You're gonna show pushing and pulling. When we're doing that, when we're starting to push and pull with our fingers, you can move. Try not to use your arm, just so you can specifically see the
My
pushing.
bad.
Push versus pull. So your fingers can do pushing and pulling. Your toes can do the same thing. If you do what most of us do when we first start climbing, like what was you said, you did this example earlier,
Yeah.
where if
You
we
use
wanted
the
to
ball
put
of your
the
foot.
ball of your foot, the ball of your hand, if I wanted to pull on this and I don't use my toes, then this is what it looks like. You hear and you pull, comes straight off.
Like
If
the
I
worst high five ever.
if I start to use my fingers as toes and grab, now it looks like that, because now I'm starting to pull it. And I'm not digging in super hard in this particular aspect. I'm just enough to actually grab a hold of it. That's what the fingers and the toes should be doing. If you engage potentially your knee and make things better, I know this isn't my knee, just bear with me on the actual analogy here. If I grab and then engage more, now I can push down and pull the rest of me over, especially if this is stable and doesn't move. I can now grab and pull my entire body over. Same thing will happen with your feet. Can you show this one while I'm to push and pull? We're going to first go over why the ball of your foot is a bad thing again. So I want you to grab this hold with the ball of your foot, the middle of your foot, and I want you to try and just pull your body towards me using just your legs, not your arms. So pull with don't use your toe. Don't be good.
I'm trying. It's hard to.
There we go.
That's
All
feels
right.
weird.
Now, relax and then come back on there and put your toe on it and grab it. And now, with just your leg, pull your body over. See how his arm automatically wanted to bend? That's because he's generating so much power so easily that the body naturally wants to do that. The hips come way over compared to what he was doing when he was on the ball of his foot. Show me the ball of your foot again, please. So you're doing the bad way where your ball of your foot doing just the pulling. It's really awkward. You switch to your toe, and how smooth and efficient that movement happens automatically. Okay, so that's the ball of your foot when you are pulling. If you are pushing, so now we're going to get in the same position, only this time I want your left foot out, and it doesn't really matter on what, just anything to push on. Now if you were going to push towards me, okay, try not to pull with this as much as you can. You can put it there, just don't do anything with it. Push, okay. Now see how the hips move and how much they do it? He's naturally moving into his toe. There we go. Now if you were to just use your toe and actually dig in the correct way, don't do a back step, just open hips. There we go. Now the hips move more fluidly. They have more control. And now it's a much easier to see on smaller holds. If he were to put his right foot or left foot on something that's really bad and use the ball of his foot, now it's really weird. Versus when he's using his toe, now he has a lot more push, a lot more control, a lot more ability to adjust what his body is doing. Okay?
Yeah.
A lot of times when I show somebody this exercise the first time, especially if I'm having them use both feet, which I'm going to have him show in a minute, the first time they do it on the ball of their foot, if I say, actually, you know what? Let's just show them. Okay? Get both feet on these two bad holds right there. And then I want you to put the bad holds, not the good stuff. So I want you to put the ball of your foot on there, and I want you to try to suck your hips up and in using just your legs. Okay, that's generally what happens because now the toes aren't being engaged and not you doing their job. Now put your toes on there and do that until you fall again. Because these are bad sloper feet. They're not great. The hips go up more. The entire posterior chain gets it automatically engaged because you're actively pushing into the toes, which forces the entire body to be used more correctly. That's what we're looking for.
I was going to pump out before my feet gave out. 100%.
Usually, when I have somebody try that specific exercise early on, what happens is they struggle to suck their hips in. And then the second time, once we go from ball to toe, what happens is they almost slam their knees and their hips into the wall because they end up using the same amount of energy they did when they were using the ball of their foot And when they put their toes on there, it just goes wham.
Yeah. Oh, I had a guy actually hit his knee. It was Sean. It was hilarious. He smashed it so bad. It was so good.
The ball of the toe versus the toe when you're actually moving around and doing an exercise is something that you can pay attention to as well. So when you're doing, let's just use these.
Use those.
So if you're using the ball of your foot, and I just want to move around like I was trying to be, say, deliberate with my feet.
And he's moving, and he's doing a decent job moving, but his body's not moving. It's just his feet. He's not moving himself.
Also notice how stiff the hips generally look when you are using the ball of your foot, because you cannot get any sort of rotation around your toes. If I do the same thing and now I'm on my toes, watch what my hips do as well.
They naturally want to move. They naturally want to get engaged, and it wants to move your body with your feet.
Dang it, these things are bad, and I'm not doing a good job. I also got a big hole in my foot.
Yeah, in your shoe, not in your foot.
My foot has a hole.
Your shoe, not his foot.
Remind me to kill you later. I won't have time later.
This exercise of learning how to use your feet to push and pull can also be used to do a finger training exercise as well. Let's say you're like most climbers and they like, oh, I need to be really, really strong, really, really fast. They work on this, which is fine. You can do that. I don't like it, but you can do that. Well, once you start learning that you need to pay attention to your feet, this is a great exercise to inadvertently train your hands and your fingers while actually working on your footwork.
Yeah.
Every time I've slipped, it's been on my right foot where I have this gigantic freaking hole. I need a new pair of shoes.
You have big holes.
I need new shoes.
I should just do the pulling around thing because my shoes are nice. Look at that.
Yeah,
edge.
they're not
Look
crap.
at it. Yeah.
When you are learning to do this, hold on one second. I don't want people to think that this is just for beginner climbers. It is geared for beginner climbers who don't have a lot of experience, but this is intended for high-level climbers as well. You can adjust almost every exercise, just like if you're doing a push-up. If you need to learn how to do a push-up, you can start by just sort of leaning up against a wall and doing this. It's a really extreme example, but that's some way you can learn how to do a push-up. Then you can eventually drop down to maybe doing them on your knees. Then you can extend out so you're doing them on your feet. Then you can do different kinds of push-ups to work different parts of the muscles you're trying to do. Or you can even start doing pop or hand clap push-up. You can turn almost any of the exercises. You can dial it down, or you can ramp it up based off of what your skill level is. So with that in mind, the intention on this thing is to first be a beginner. Learn how to do this the right way. Practice it the right way. So go ahead and be on your toes and keep your feet not necessarily directly underneath you, but I want your hips open for this, and I want you to just move around. And when I tell you to, I also want you to start pulling with your feet. So start pulling, so maybe towards me just a little bit with your feet.
Like, just keep going.
Pull your body, and now go the other way, and pull the other way with your feet. Not just placing them, but start pulling your body. There we go, like that. So the further out he gets, the more extreme this exercise gets. The more your feet are underneath you, you can relax. The more your feet are underneath you, then the more you can focus on the pulling itself. Now, this is my favorite stupid dance that I do with this thing, and everybody always laughs at me.
Good.
But when your feet are really, really close together, you don't get a lot of pulling back and forth. But when they're a little bit further than shoulder width, you can pull and pull and pull and pull back and forth until you look like a stupid little snake, like I do, like belly charmer. I'm not a belly dancer. But the point is the feet are basically directly underneath you, and you can practice the pulling with the legs to do that. That is what I want you to do when you are learning how to do this. Once you have gotten better at this, know how to pull, you've grabbed holds, you've learned how to pull your body all the way over, you can extend out
and up.
You can extend out and up, so I can come all the way over here.
Get out of your way.
And I want to pull up and over. I bent my arm. I didn't mean to. I apologize. I can pull up and over.
Straight. There you go.
Pull up and over.
Pull this one.
That's further than I can reach. Okay, here we go.
That's why I thought it was funny. Where you see how you get engaged on that, which is literally level with his shoulders.
which you do not do if you are grabbing that with the ball of your foot. Let's see if I can even try that.
Oh,
If I do that with just grabbing the ball of my foot,
be fun. And slip.
I can't move off of that. I can just get it to stay there, but I can't by pushing into it, but I can't get it to pull.
You can't. Yeah, you
my
can't
body
engage. You can't engage through the ball.
So
of your
this
foot.
exercise can be used for all levels, depending on what you're doing. You can make it harder and easier. Eventually, not today, we're going to go over how to push with those feet a lot easier when we do straight arm day. We talk about straight arms and stuff like that, and how to learn to move your body more correctly. This
is overly specific. Like we said we were going to be.
Yes.
We're dialing down the very specifics of what small parts of your body need to do. This is a full body workout. Climbing always is, always will be. So we understand, we haven't talked about reaching for that hold yet. We know that's part of climbing. We're just not concerned with it yet because we want to make sure you have a good base to engage your power off of so that you can get that good pop dynamic movement going on.
Yep. And this exercise is meant to learn how to do movement in isolation. Again, just like we talked about earlier, the body is meant to be used as a cohesive unit. It's all connected. It's meant to be used together. So, for example, if I was going to make a move somewhere up over there, okay, and I wanted to, let's say, pull and reach. Right now, I'm asking you to do the hard thing where all you're doing is pulling and then reaching, okay? That is not the easiest way to do the move.
No.
The easiest way to do that move is to actually use the lower foot to push, pull, and lock and grab. Everything gets used, okay? But you have to learn to do the easy thing before the hard thing becomes easy.
Absolutely.
I think that's how you phrased it earlier, which I really like.
Yeah. One thing I've always said is like you never get technically better doing the hard thing. You get technically better doing the easy thing, and you create it as a habit. So when you're doing the hard thing, you don't have to think about it. You instinctually do it. So instead of going, I'm going to do this move, I got to make sure I flex my right butt cheek because I got to keep my hips in, you just do.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people, when I first tried showing them to do a lot of these things in isolation, will complain. It's like, this is not how I climb. You're 100% correct.
Absolutely.
This is not how you climb. But it is how you learn to climb and how you learn to use your body, specifically your feet, correctly so that everything gets easier in the future.
Absolutely.
And that's our goal, right?
That's the plan.
I want to be easier. Well, maybe not me.
No, it's kind of like riding a bike. You know, you ride an 18-speed bike, you start going faster. It doesn't get easier. You just switch gears. You keep going faster. But
I only had the old school Huffy that only had one gear.
Yeah,
that's all I ever had.
I always threw the chains off those.
Okay, so that's how we're going to work on that thing. I believe that's it for that one.
I think that's about all we got for that.
Perfect.
Right?
Perfect. Yeah. Phrases. So a higher level of thinking about this rather than just pulling your body over with your feet is how that actually works. So for example, I've seen a bunch of online coaches or other coaches in general try to explain moving their body weight over their feet, and the way they describe it is they call it just sort of shifting your hips over.
Yeah.
It's like, but what that doesn't do is explain exactly how that happens.
It's because most of the time you see the video, they use their shoulders to get their hips over.
Yes, because you can get your body to do the movement.
Absolutely, you
can. With your shoulders. So if I wanted to move my my body over that way, I could do this.
And it works.
And I'm not pulling with my foot. What's actually happening is I'm pulling my body over with my arms, and my foot is just there. It just adjusts with it. So it's more of this is a pulling with the hips versus
pulling with the shoulders. Which one looks easier?
The same action happens in the sense that the hips move over. In this case, it's not over as much as it would be. The same action does happen. However, when you're engaging your feet and you're actually pulling, what actually happens, if you wouldn't mind?
I suppose. What do you want me to pull on?
Let's get a foot, something you can easily grab on. What actually happens is the engagement of the glutes and the butt, and that you squeeze over. You engage by pulling on your toe, your calf, your thighs, your quad. All of that gets engaged. All of it. Notice I didn't say anything about the shoulders.
It's because they didn't do anything.
They're engaged. They're doing their job as far as supporting being supportive for the lower body, but they're not the things doing the work to make the body go up. In this case, I'm trying to get you to learn how your feet will do the work, and that is by, again,
Let's go to
grabbing.
a higher
Yeah, do a higher hold, grabbing, pulling, and shifting the hips up and over your feet. That will change.
We can do a higher hold.
He's just showing up. That's gonna teach your body how to move better, how to engage better. Personally, I think it's a fairly simple thing to do, but it's a higher level concept of learning what is being used and how it's being used and when to use it.
Right, and it's not me saying that if my hands are here and I have a foothold here, I need to not use my upper body. It might be better to use your upper body in that situation. But this gives you a feel and the look of how it's supposed to isolate the lower body.
Yeah. I'm never going to tell you guys to not use the upper body.
Absolutely.
When you're actually climbing, I will tell you that there are times when it's better to use your lower body to make the move. And I'm going to tell you there's times when it's better to make your upper body be the thing that's being in control of the actual movement. And that's a much deeper topic for later, but I am going to tell you that there is a difference between the two. And that's the reason why the arms are straight in this exercise, so that you're not allowing the arms and the shoulders to do the movement. Okay. It's not just about getting the hips over. It's about how you get the hips over so you can control the movement.
Yeah. And if you can disperse it throughout your entire body, it just makes it easier.
Yep.
More comfortable. And totally boss.
So I do think that concludes our first episode. Hopefully it wasn't horrible. If you did think it was horrible, like, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram and YouTube so that you can tell us if you thought it was amazing.
Then you should also like and follow us on Instagram and YouTube so that you can tell us.
Yes.
Basically, you should just talk to us.
Yeah, you should just tell us all the things you liked and didn't like so that we can never listen.
Yeah. Don't forget the exercises that we put in there for you guys to help develop your footwork.
Yep. Grab with your toes, push and pull, be deliberate with your feet. Use being quiet as a byproduct, not a goal for that, and just learn how to grab things appropriately. Like that. I just grab what I want.
That was aggressive.
Very grabby.
It was super grabby.
Other than that, you guys have a good time. We appreciate it. Thank you for following us.
Okay, bye. All right. So one of the things we're going to talk about as far as feet are concerned is being specific and I lost the word.
Next thing is paying attention to and being specific. There you go.
My brain no braining.
We got it.
So the next thing we're going to talk to you guys about is being specific.
Paying attention to and being specific.
Why am I having a problem with that?
I don't know.
Is this how superstars feel?
Maybe it's because you're gay.
Probably. Isn't that why Trump wrote the executive order? You can't be gay anymore.
Yep.
What? Paying attention.
Pay attention to me.
Pay attention.
Pay attention to me.
All right.
Naise would be a better climber here with breaking news. If you want to learn how to use your feet better and not look like crap when you're climbing on the wall, stay tuned.
Yeah!
All right, so I think that's our first video, our first episode, right?
Yeah, that's the first episode, Be a Better Climber, Instagram, YouTube. Follow us on both of those.
That does cover the starting.
Sorry, man. That was horrible.
Stop.
No stop. Believe it. We are the recording.
Hey, we've been telling everybody if you need something, just do your thing. We're going to be doing enough stuff that we're going to have to work around people. So,
You might end up in a video.
and that's fine. I don't
It's
care.
not pornography
Yet.
yet.
It will be, though.
I think the most annoying thing that I did was constantly lift my pants up. So I'm trying to over tighten it so that I don't look ridiculous. But
Yeah.
I'm also going to make sure that my underwear ain't thonging up before we start this. Just been doing that recently. Haven't been enjoying it. Call me in about that life.
Okay. You're starting this.
I'm starting this.
Yep.
How am I starting this? Because you were talking. So we're going to start this talking about how the Raging Bull is really bad. And why is the Raging Bull really bad? Because we leave rubber on the walls. I'm brain farting like a motherfucker.
Focus. All right. So